Princess Aurelian of the Lissari Empire walked through the long crystal hallway with a soft and slow step. Her people always said she was graceful, but today she did not feel like a princess. She felt small, she felt empty inside. The bright stones on the walls reflected her purple skin and silver hair in beautiful patterns, but she barely looked at them. Her mind repeated the same heavy thought again and again: I can never give life. Every member of the empire knew this truth. The healers had told her when she was young, and the news had spread quietly through the palace. They never spoke about it in front of her, but she could feel their silence everywhere. When she passed by the royal attendants, they bowed too quickly. When she sat with the council, they looked at her with a sad respect. When she joined festivals, other princesses smiled kindly, as if comforting someone who had lost everything. Aurelian hated that smile the most. She was a princess by title, but a symbol of pity in the hearts of many, and she feared she would live her whole life like this, seen but not truly known. Today, however, was different. She was leaving the empire for a short diplomatic visit to a human research station. Her people rarely worked closely with humans, but new agreements had made cooperation important. The queen wanted Aurelian to represent the royal family. Aurelian had agreed, but inside she was nervous. She had never met a human before. Her people always said humans were intense and unpredictable. Some called them emotional. Others called them dangerous. But the queen believed they were simply misunderstood. Aurelian did not know what to expect. She entered the shuttle with a straight back and a calm face, but her hands were cold. The journey through space was peaceful, giving her time to think. She wondered if the humans would notice her weakness. She wondered if they could sense it somehow. She closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "It does not matter. I will do my duty." The shuttle arrived at the human station after several hours. The doors opened with a soft hiss, and warm air brushed against her skin. Human designs were different from Lissari structures: metal, clean lines, strong lights, and the faint hum of machinery. It felt alive in a different way. A small group of human officers stood waiting. Among them was a man who did not wear the same type of uniform. His clothes were simpler. He looked calm, focused, and carried no weapon. He stepped forward with a gentle expression and introduced himself. "Welcome, Princess Aurelian. My name is Elias Ward. I'll be guiding you today." His voice surprised her. It did not sound sharp or rough like the stories said. Instead, it sounded steady and warm, like someone speaking to ease another's worry. Aurelian lifted her chin. "Thank you, Elias Ward. I hope I do not cause any trouble." He smiled politely. "You won't. You're our guest." The other humans bowed slightly, but Elias simply placed a hand over his chest, a respectful gesture among his people. Aurelian found it interesting. She felt a strange comfort in the way he moved. Nothing about him felt dangerous. He led her through the station, explaining each area with simple words. He never rushed her. He never looked impatient. He made sure her steps stayed steady on the metal floor. Aurelian noticed these small things. She noticed everything. In the research bay, machines hummed softly. The human scientists were respectful, giving her space. Elias explained that the station studied biological differences between species to improve medicine and diplomacy. Aurelian asked gentle questions, trying to show interest even though she felt nervous. Elias answered each one with patience. When she paused too long, he did not fill the silence. He let her speak at her own pace. Most people never did that. As they walked, Elias glanced at her with a thoughtful expression. "You seem a little tense," he said gently. "Is everything all right?" Aurelian froze. No one ever asked her that directly. Not with true concern. Her first instinct was to hide her feelings. She gave him a soft but distant smile. "I am perfectly well." Elias did not press her. Instead, he simply nodded. "If there's anything you need, you can tell me any time." His words were simple, but they touched her heart. She did not know why. They reached a viewing window that showed the stars outside. Aurelian stepped closer. her eyes widening at the sight of distant suns glowing like tiny flames. Elias stood beside her, giving her space. "Your world must look different from here," he said. "It does," she whispered. "But sometimes, distance makes things easier." He looked at her gently. "Is there something you want distance from?" She swallowed. She should not tell him. Humans were strangers. But something in Elias's voice made her feel safe, like he would not judge her. She looked straight ahead at the stars and said softly, "My people believe my worth depends on what I can give, what I can bring into the world. But I have nothing to give. Not the thing they want most." Elias's eyebrows drew together, not in pity, but in worry. "Someone told you that?" "Everyone knows it," she replied. "I cannot create life. I was born wrong." Elias shook his head. "That doesn't make you wrong." Araline felt her breath catch. She slowly turned to look at him. "You say that so easily. Because it's true. Your value isn't tied to something you can't control." No human would think that. She studied his face, his calm eyes, his steady posture. There was no judgment in him. For the first time in many years, she did not feel like a symbol of failure. She felt seen, but before she could speak again, a loud alarm echoed through the research bay. Elias immediately stepped in front of her. "Stay behind me, princess." She blinked. "What is happening?" "One of the containment units is unstable," a human officer shouted. "We need to secure the area." Smoke burst from a nearby panel. Sparks flew out. Humans rushed to control the malfunction, but a metal frame suddenly cracked and swung loose, falling directly toward Araline. She gasped and stepped back, but it was too fast. Elias moved without thinking. He grabbed her shoulders and pulled her into his chest, shielding her completely, as the broken frame crashed onto the floor only inches away. The loud clang echoed through the bay. Dust filled the air. Araline's heart raced. She felt the warmth of Elias's arms around her. He held her firmly but gently, like someone protecting something precious. "Are you hurt?" he asked softly, his voice close to her ear. She shook her head slowly, still shocked. "No. I am unharmed." He let her go, but only when he felt she was steady. His hands stayed near her elbows, ready to support her if she wavered. Humans around them checked the damage, and the danger passed quickly. But Araline could not stop staring at Elias. She had seen humans described as wild, impulsive beings, but what she saw now was different. He had risked himself to protect her without hesitation, without duty, without reward. "Why did you do that?" she whispered. Elias wiped dust from her shoulder. "Because you needed help. And because you're a guest. That's all." "That is not all," she said quietly. She knew, deep inside, that was not all. No one had ever stepped forward for her like that. No one had ever moved with such sincerity. Elias did not argue. He simply gave her a small, calm smile. "Let's get you somewhere safe." As they walked to a quiet room, Araline felt something new inside her, something warm and fragile, something she had never dared to feel before. Trust, maybe even hope. She did not understand it yet, but she knew one thing for certain. This human was not like the stories. This human had changed something inside her heart, and she feared, or perhaps wished, that her life would never be the same again. Elias walked beside Princess Araline through the quiet corridor of the human research station. Her steps were slow, careful, and her breath still a little unsteady from the accident earlier. He kept his pace gentle, matching her stride without making it obvious. He spoke only when needed, giving her space to recover from the shock. Araline noticed this. She noticed everything about him. Humans were said to be intense, but Elias felt soft-spoken, calm, almost peaceful. His presence made her heart settle, even after the falling metal frame had almost struck her. Inside the medical room, the lights dimmed automatically for comfort. Araline sat on the edge of a cushioned medical bed, while Elias checked a handheld device beside her. "You're sure you're all right?" he asked again, his tone warm and quiet. Araline nodded. "Yes, you protected me. Nothing touched me." Elias relaxed a little. "Good. That's what matters. The words made her chest warm for reasons she did not fully understand. She looked down at her hands. Most people. Do not step in so quickly. He looked surprised. Why not? You were in danger. Because I am a princess, she replied. People freeze. They wait for orders. They fear mistakes. Elias gave a short smile. I'm not great at freezing. Araline found herself returning the smile before she could stop it. A human doctor entered, scanned Araline gently, and confirmed she was unhurt. Elias stayed close the entire time. When the doctor left, Araline exhaled softly. I did not know humans were so protective, she said. Elias shrugged. It's not about being human. It's about being decent. His answer was simple, but it settled deep inside her heart like a tiny seed planted in quiet soil. A strange report. After ensuring she had recovered, Elias asked if she wished to continue the tour. Araline agreed, wanting to show she was not fragile. They walked toward the research wing again. But this time, slowly, when they arrived, a human scientist waved Elias over urgently. We finally received the Lissari medical files you requested. Araline blinked. Files? Elias turned to her respectfully. I asked for permission from your embassy to study Lissari biology for better cooperation. Only if you were comfortable with it. She gave a small nod. It is fine. My people work with scientists often. But she felt curious. Why did he look so serious suddenly? He opened the data display, and lines of Lissari biological charts appeared. Araline's gaze lowered. She recognized the symbols. They were the same ones used in her own medical tests, the same tests that had defined her entire life. Elias noticed her discomfort but spoke gently. Princess, I don't want to push, but I need to ask something important. Yes? These infertility records. Were they based on assumptions from older Lissari biology? Or modern trials? Araline lowered her eyes. They told me the tests were old but trusted. The healers said the results were certain. Elias frowned slightly. Old tests can be wrong. Araline's stomach tightened. Wrong? After all these years? After a lifetime of being quietly pitied? After shaping her identity around something that destroyed her confidence? She looked away. Humans do not understand Lissari biology. Our systems are complex. That's true, Elias agreed. But that's exactly why I want to study them carefully. Not to prove anything wrong, only to understand better. He asked for her permission again, gently, not wanting to intrude. Araline gave a hesitant nod. Something inside her whispered that she could trust him. Elias began comparing the Lissari data with human biological markers. The two species were completely different. Yet certain patterns matched in unexpected ways. Araline watched silently as he worked, noticing how focused he became, how gentle his hands looked, even when handling machines. Finally, Elias looked up. Princess, something isn't right here. Her breath caught. What do you mean? These tests, they were based on a single assumption. That Lissari reproductive energy has only one activation pattern. But what if there are more? What if yours simply doesn't match the standard? Well, what if there are more match the standard? Araline's mind raced. Elias, are you saying I might not be? He raised a calming hand. I'm not saying you're fertile. I'm saying the tests are incomplete. Incomplete. A word that shook her entire world. She stared at the glowing data, her fingers trembling slightly. My entire life. They told me there was no mistake. That's what worries me. Elias replied softly. No scientist should say that. Not without checking every angle. Araline felt lightheaded. The room seemed too bright, too sharp. She walked to the viewing glass, needing space to breathe. My people trusted those tests, she whispered. I trusted them. Princess, Elias said, walking over slowly. You are not defined by a test. And you were never broken. Her chest tightened as if something inside her wanted to cry but didn't know how. Opening up to a human, they spent hours going through data together. Elias explained each step with simple words so Araline understood everything. He did not rush her, did not overwhelm her, and did not treat her like a royal object. He treated her like a person. Sometimes she asked questions. Sometimes she stayed silent. Elias never pushed. When she grew tired, he brought her warm water, something humans often use to settle the nerves. She accepted it with a quiet thank you. After some time, Araline finally spoke the fear she had never said aloud to anyone. "I always wanted a family," she admitted softly. "Not because of duty, not because of my people, but because I wished to share my life with someone who saw me for myself." Elias's voice softened. "Everyone deserves that." "I don't think I do." Her voice cracked. "I cannot give anything in return." Elias looked at her firmly but kindly. "Princess, worth isn't measured by what someone can give. It's measured by who they are." Araline turned to him slowly. Her eyes shimmered with emotions she had kept hidden for years. "You speak as if you know me." He shook his head. "I speak as someone who listens." Her breath faltered. No one had ever said something like that to her. A human's patience. Later in the evening, Elias continued running harmless scans and simulations using her recorded medical data, not her body directly, so she felt safe and comfortable. He explained every step. "I want you to be part of this process," he said. "You should know exactly what is being studied." Araline nodded. "Thank you. My people often avoid explaining things to me. They think it will hurt me." "Does it hurt?" he asked. "It hurts more when they treat me like I cannot understand." Elias gave a soft smile. "Well, I think you're smarter than half the researchers here." Araline looked away, hiding a small smile that warmed her cheeks. As the hours passed, something remarkable began to happen. Elias found strange biological markers in Lissari DNA markers that responded strongly to a specific type of human healing energy. Humans had natural cell repair resonance. Lissari had emotional resonance. Together, the two patterns formed a rare third pattern. Elias studied the discovery in silence, his eyes slowly widening. Araline noticed his expression and stepped closer. "What did you find?" He looked up at her with an expression full of hesitation, hope, and confusion. "Princess, your biology isn't inactive. It's dormant. There's a difference." "Dormant?" Araline repeated. "Yes, it means it's not broken. It's simply waiting for the right signal." Her heart began to race. "What kind of signal?" He swallowed, choosing his words very carefully. "A resonance that Lissari partners normally can't provide. But humans naturally produce something very close to it." Araline stared at him, stunned. "So you're saying—" She could barely finish the sentence. "I'm saying," Elias said quietly, "that everything you've been told may not be true, and that there is hope. Real hope." Her knees felt weak. She lowered herself into a chair, her hands shaking. Hope felt like a dangerous fire, one she had never allowed herself to touch before. Elias knelt beside her, not touching her, but close enough to offer comfort. "Princess," he said gently, "nothing changes right now. You don't have to decide anything. You don't have to believe anything yet. We'll confirm everything, step by step, at your pace, only with your permission." Araline looked into his eyes. He was calm, steady, and sincere. He was offering her hope, but also safety. He was asking for nothing in return. A tear slipped down her cheek. "I am afraid," she whispered. "I know," Elias replied softly. "Hope can be scary." She wiped her tear and exhaled slowly. "But I want to know the truth." Elias nodded. "Then we'll discover it together." Araline looked at him, this calm, respectful human who had protected her, listened to her, and now offered her something she never imagined she would feel again. Not certainty, not promise, but possibility. And in that moment, the princess who once believed she had nothing to give felt a quiet spark inside her. A spark that could change everything. Princess Araline stood quiet beside the wide crystal window of the human research station, watching tiny stars drift across the darkness. Her thoughts were full, heavy, and bright all at once. Elias's discovery from the night before kept echoing through her mind. Dormant. not broken. Hope. Real hope. She never imagined she would hear such words in her lifetime. Elias entered the room holding a soft tablet. He stopped a few steps away when he noticed her deep focus. "Princess? Did you sleep?" Aureline turned slowly toward him. "I tried. But my thoughts were louder than rest." He smiled gently. "Understandable." She studied his face for a moment. He looked calm, but there was a small tension in his eyes, like he was hiding a worry of his own. Before she could ask, the door opened again. A human officer stepped inside, holding a device that glowed with the royal seal of the Lissari Empire. "Princess Aureline," the officer said respectfully, "a message has arrived from your High Council. They request your presence through live projection." Aureline's stomach tightened. When the council called, it was never simple. Elias stepped aside, giving her space. The lights dimmed, and a shimmering blue projection formed, revealing the curved chamber of the Lissari High Council. 12 elders sat in a half-circle, their faces serious. "Princess Aureline," the lead elder spoke, "we have received reports that a human scientist made a discovery regarding your condition." Her chest tightened. She nodded. "Yes. Elder Valoran." Elias Ward found errors in the ancient tests. A quiet murmur passed through the council chamber. Elder Lanira leaned forward. "Is it true that humans may be compatible with Lissari biological resonance?" Aureline hesitated. "It is a possibility, not confirmed." Another elder spoke sharply. "Humans should not be involved in royal matters of this nature. This is a family issue, not a diplomatic experiment." The words stung Aureline like icy wind. She opened her mouth to respond. But Elias stepped forward, not in front of her, only beside her, like a quiet support. "With respect," Elias said calmly, "I am not forcing myself into anything. The princess gave clear permission for research. I simply want to understand the truth." Elder Valoran narrowed his eyes. "Truth can be dangerous when handled by outsiders." Elias remained steady. "Truth is already dangerous when it is ignored." Aureline's eyes widened slightly. Humans were known for their boldness, but Elias's voice was not sharp or disrespectful. It was honest, firm, but gentle. The council whispered among themselves. Finally, Elder Lanira spoke again. "Princess, we do not approve this path. A human cannot hold the key to our royal bloodline. It will cause political imbalance." Aureline felt heat rise in her chest. "With respect, I did not ask for this key. It came on its own." Elder Valoran sighed. "Child, you must understand your future affects the entire empire." Elias looked down, stepping back slightly. He did not want to cause trouble. Aureline saw this. She felt her hands curl tightly. For years, she had allowed the council to guide her life, her decisions, her worth. But now, for the first time, someone had shown her that she deserved more than silence and pity. She lifted her chin, voice steady as crystal. "I will listen to your guidance," she said, "but I will not let fear decide my options." Elias Ward treated me with respect when no one else did. He is not the danger here. The danger is refusing to learn the truth. The council chamber fell silent. They were shocked not at her words, but at her courage. After a long moment, Elder Valoran spoke again. "We will consider your position. Until then, you may continue your diplomatic stay. But princess, be careful." The projection faded. Aureline exhaled slowly, feeling her heart race. She had never spoken so directly to the council before. Elias turned to her. "Princess, I'm sorry. I didn't want to cause conflict." "You didn't," she said softly. "They fear what they don't understand." Elias gave a small smile. "Humans are guilty of that too." Aureline looked at him with warmth. "Yes, but you also try to understand what you fear." The news spreads. Within hours, the entire Lissari Empire learned that the human discovery existed. Messages buzzed across the station. Humans whispered curiously. Lissari diplomats looked uncomfortable. A young Lissari ambassador, Serene, approached Aureline timidly. Princess, is it true? Did a human find something our healers never saw? Aralene's voice remained calm. He found possibilities. Nothing more. And the council, they are worried. I know. Cyrene hesitated. Many of us support you, Princess. We never believed you were lesser. Your strength has always been clear. Aralene's eyes softened. Thank you. The words felt like a small blessing, but not everyone was pleased. In another section of the station, a group of Lasari political advisors whispered sharply among themselves. This will create chaos, one said. Humans will claim influence in our throne, another hissed. We must control the situation. Remove the human from this research. Their words floated like cold wind through the station. The council's order. Later that evening, a formal notice arrived. Human scientist Elias Ward must step back from all royal biological research until further review. Aralene felt the message like a weight on her chest. She paced the quiet walkway outside the research bay. Her heart unsettled. Elias stood a few steps behind her. He tried to hide his disappointment, but she sensed it. I understand their decision, Elias said softly. Your empire has its ways. I don't want to cause you more stress. Aralene turned sharply. You are not the problem. You helped me. You gave me hope, but hope came with consequences. He replied. Consequences worth facing, she said. He looked into her eyes, searching for any sign of doubt. There was none. But before either could speak again, 3 Lasari officials approached, their faces tight with formal politeness. Princess Aralene, the lead official said, by order of the council, the human must stop all examinations immediately. Elias stepped back. I understand. Aralene stepped forward. I do not. The officials blinked, startled. Aralene's voice was calm but strong. This research concerns me. My life. My future. Why am I not allowed to decide who helps me learn about my own biology? It is a matter of royal tradition, the official replied. It is a matter of my identity, she corrected. The officials exchanged uneasy glances. Elias stayed silent, letting her lead. Aralene continued. If I have been misdiagnosed my entire life, then I deserve the right to know. And Elias Ward is the only one who looked past the old ideas. Princess, the official said carefully, we must protect the royal image. My image? Aralene whispered. Or your comfort? The officials froze, unsure how to respond. They bowed quickly and retreated, promising to report her words to the council. Elias stared at her with quiet admiration. You didn't have to defend me like that. I wasn't defending you, she said, turning toward him. I was defending myself. Elias blinked, surprised. Aralene breathed deeply. For years, I let others speak for me. I let them decide who I was. But now, I feel as if I finally have a voice, and you used it strongly, Elias said with a proud smile. She looked down, cheeks warm. I used it because you showed me I deserved one. A quiet moment of strength. Later that night, Aralene and Elias sat in the quiet observation chamber. Stars glowed softly outside. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the station. Elias, Aralene said quietly, if the council removes you from this project, what happens to the research? I can write my findings, he said. But without permission, I cannot continue studying your case. Aralene lowered her eyes. Then the truth may remain incomplete. Yes, she clasped her hands tightly. I can't accept that. Not now. Elias tilted his head. Because you want answers? Because you gave me hope too, she wanted to say. But she only nodded. Yes, I want answers. Elias thought for a moment. Princess, we will find a way. Even if I step back officially, I can still help you understand what we already discovered. Her eyes lifted. You would do that? Of course. But why? She whispered. He looked at her gently. Because you deserve clarity. Because no one should live their life believing they're broken when they're not. Aralene's heart trembled. No one had ever spoken about her worth with such certainty. She looked back at the stars and whispered, I wish my people could see me the way you do. Elias smiled softly. Maybe one day they will. A turning point. Before leaving the chamber, a technician rushed in. Princess, Elias, the council has requested a live broadcast. They want to speak again. Araline straightened her shoulders. Elias stood beside her, not in front of her, not behind her, but beside her. The projection flickered to life, showing the council once more. Elder Valoran studied her with a long, quiet gaze. Princess Araline, after reviewing your earlier words, we have come to a decision. Araline braced herself. You may continue your research with the human scientist for now, he said. We cannot ignore the courage you showed today, nor the possibility that ancient tests failed you. Araline's breath left her in a quiet, relieved sigh. Elias gave her a small, proud smile. But, Elder Valoran added, Princess, be careful where this path leads. The projection faded. Araline turned to Elias, her expression full of quiet determination. This is my path, she said softly. I will walk it. And I'll walk beside you, Elias replied. For the first time in her life, Princess Araline felt like she was stepping into her future, not alone, not afraid, but strong. And beside her, a human who believed in her more than her own people ever had. The air felt calmer today, though her heart still carried the weight of everything that had happened, the council's fear, her sudden courage, and the discovery that could change her entire life. But she wasn't alone. Elias walked onto the balcony with quiet steps, holding 2 warm drinks. He handed one to her without a word. Their fingers brushed for just a moment, and Araline felt a small warmth travel through her chest. Thank you, she said softly. You're welcome, Elias replied. Silence settled between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt peaceful, like the calm after a long storm. Preparing for answers. Later that morning, the station buzzed with unexpected activity. Scientists hurried through the hallways. Lysari ambassadors watched closely, and in the center of all of it, Elias prepared the final stage of his analysis. Araline entered the main research room where transparent screens glowed with data. A soft table was placed in the middle, not for tests on her body, but for displaying results clearly. Elias turned to her with gentle seriousness. Princess, are you ready to see the full truth? 1. Her heart tightened. I think so. If at any point you feel overwhelmed, we can stop, he said. You are in control. She nodded. For the first time in her life, she truly felt that she was. Elias tapped a panel, and a soft hum filled the room. On the screen appeared 2 glowing patterns, one representing Lysari resonance, the other representing human regenerative energy. When placed side by side, the 2 patterns pulsed gently until suddenly they synced. Araline gasped. They match. Not exactly, Elias corrected softly. They complement. Your biology doesn't need a Lysari signal. It needs a different kind of push one humans produce naturally. Araline stared, unable to speak. You were never infertile, Elias continued. Your body simply didn't respond to the patterns the healers expected, but it responds to this. Her eyes shimmered. So the tests were wrong? Elias nodded slowly. Yes, completely. Araline covered her mouth with her hand, her breath trembling. Her entire life, her fears, her silence, her loneliness, had grown from a mistake. A soft tear fell down her cheek. Elias stepped forward but did not touch her. He simply stood close, offering comfort without pressure. Princess, you were never broken, he whispered. Her shoulders shook. Elias, you don't understand. For years, I believed I had nothing to offer my people. I believed I was less. I believed I had failed before I even began. You didn't fail, Elias said. You survived. And you stayed kind. That is strength most people never learn. Her breath hitched. The queen arrives. Before Araline could speak again, the room brightened with a sudden projection. The Lysari queen, her mother, appeared in full royal form, surrounded by shimmering light. Araline froze. Mother, she whispered. The queen's expression was unreadable at first, calm, regal, steady. But when her eyes focused on Araline, a soft warmth appeared. "Araline, my daughter," the queen said gently. "We received the new findings. The council informed me of Elias Ward's research." Araline stood straighter, though her heart pounded. "Mother, I did not want to cause disruption, but I needed to know the truth." The queen looked at her with eyes full of empathy. "You did the right thing." Araline blinked in surprise. "I did?" The queen's voice softened. "You spent your life believing a weight that was never yours to carry. If errors were made, then we must correct them, not silence them." Elias lowered his gaze respectfully. The queen's attention shifted to him. "Elias Ward, you have given my daughter something priceless: clarity. For that, I thank you." Elias bowed slightly. "It is an honor, Your Majesty." The queen continued. "Your findings will change how our healers understand Lissari biology. Not only for Araline, but for many others who may have suffered the same misjudgment." Araline felt her heart lift. "Others?" "Yes," the queen said. "Already, 3 Lissari citizens have been retested. Their results were the same as yours." Araline felt a mix of relief and sadness. Relief that she wasn't alone. Sadness that others had lived the same heavy story. The queen looked at her daughter with a soft smile. "You are more important to our empire than you realize. Your courage forced us to see what we ignored for too long." Araline lowered her head, overwhelmed. "And Elias," the queen added, "I would like you to continue your research with our full permission." Elias blinked in surprise. "Are you sure?" "I don't want to disrespect your traditions. You respected my daughter first." The queen replied. "That is more important than tradition." The projection faded slowly, leaving Araline in quiet awe. The human plans to leave. After the queen's message, word spread across the station. The princess's case became a symbol of new unity between humans and the Lissari Empire. Scientists from both species exchanged ideas, smiling and discussing possibilities. Lissari ambassadors greeted Elias with new respect, but Elias himself seemed quiet. Later that evening, Araline found him standing near the departure dock, looking out at the stars. He held a small travel bag. Her heart tightened. "You're leaving?" Elias exhaled softly. "Your people have everything they need now. My part is done." Araline stepped closer. "No. You gave us hope. That does not mean you must leave, princess." Elias paused, choosing his words carefully. "I don't want to cause trouble for you. Your world is changing, and humans stepping too close might make things complicated." Araline felt a rush of frustration. "You are not a complication. You are the reason I can breathe again." Elias looked at her with soft surprise. "You showed me I am not broken," she continued. "You stood beside me when I doubted myself. You listened when no one else cared to. That is not something I can forget." Elias hesitated. "I didn't do it for reward." "I know," Araline whispered. "You did it because you are you." For a moment, the only sound was the distant hum of engines. Araline lowered her voice. "Elias, do you want to leave? Truly?" He looked into her eyes. Then he shook his head. "No. But I thought it would be easier for you." Araline stepped closer. "My whole life has been easy for others. Not for me. I want something different now." Elias's breath softened. "And what do you want?" Araline met his gaze with courage she never knew she had. "I want you to stay. A new beginning." The next morning, Elias walked beside Araline through the gardens of the station's botanical wing. Soft lights glowed through the blue plants, creating a gentle peacefulness. "Your people will study the resonance patterns," he explained. "There will be more discoveries, more possibilities." Araline nodded. "For the first time, I look at the future without fear." "That's how it should be," Elias said. She smiled softly. "Elias, what will you do now?" He looked thoughtful. "If the Queen truly wants cooperation between our species, I may be assigned as a permanent liaison." Araline felt warmth fill her chest. "So you will stay? If that's what you want," he said quietly. "It is." A soft silence followed, pleasant, warm, full of emotion that didn't need grand words. Araline stopped walking. Elias, thank you. Not just for the research, but for seeing me as a person, not a problem. Elias shook his head lightly. You were never a problem. You were someone who deserved honesty and care. Her eyes softened. You changed my life. He smiled, gentle and sincere. And you changed mine. They walked forward slowly, side by side, like two paths finally aligning. Outside, the stars continued to glow. And across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. A princess once believed she was broken. A human proved she was whole. And together, they changed the future of two worlds. The ending was not a miracle. It was simply the truth finally being seen, and a connection strong enough to guide a new tomorrow.